Hey, what's up? This is Václav. Adding a Meta device to Home Assistant is that simple. Power on your device, then pick up your phone and open the Home Assistant companion app. Click on the three dots on the top right corner, add to Home Assistant, add device, add Meta device, and say it's new. And it will be either automatically discovered by Bluetooth, or you can scan the QR code that's on the device or somewhere in the manual. And it will be configured and added to Home Assistant. And we are done. No more installing Samsung, Aqara, Meros, or dozens of other proprietary apps just to configure the sensor. And if you don't have Home Assistant, the same process works for Apple Home, Google Home, Samsung SmartThings, or Alexa. And if you have multiple platforms like me, you can add it to one and then share it to the others. That's what the new or already in use option was for. So commissioning is easy. Scan and it's done. And it's scalable. You can mix devices from different brands without any gateways. So why haven't I switched to Meta earlier, you might ask? Well, I had two reasons. First, there weren't that many Meta devices on the market. But it's quickly changing in 2026. IKEA is launching their new smart home lineup, all Meta based, quickly replacing their legacy Zigbee devices. And I love them. They're robust, well manufactured, and they're cheap. And they use rechargeable AAA batteries instead of those overpriced, low-capacity, wasteful button batteries that plague the Zigbee sensors. I'm testing them now, so expect a dedicated video soon, as soon as they release more of those devices to my country. And the other brands are following the same trend, so now it's a good time to make your home Meta ready. And my second reason, well, I struggled with it a bit. It didn't work initially. Commissioning devices is easy, but the initial setup to be Meta ready, not so much, at least not for me. That's why I made this video. I'll walk you through all the issues I faced, I explain them, fix them, so you can get started without the headaches. I'll cover the initial setup first, and then I'll give you troubleshooting checklists so you can run through it if you get stuck. But first, what is Meta? And how does it differ from Thread, which is often mentioned together with it? Meta is a universal smart home connectivity standard. Think of it as a common language that lets devices from different brands work seamlessly together. Meta specification itself does not contain own proprietary radio or network transfer protocol. It runs on top of existing network infrastructure, such as Wi-Fi, Ethernet, or Thread. All Meta devices are IP addressable using IPv6, allowing them to communicate directly with each other. And this is where Thread comes in. Thread is a low-power radio mesh technology, much like Zigbee. But unlike Zigbee, Thread is IP addressable, so it is much more suitable for Meta. This is why many Meta devices will come with Thread. But having Thread device does not automatically mean it supports Meta. There are some Thread devices that are built for vendor proprietary technologies, such as Apple HomeKit. And Meta can also run on Zigbee, but it requires bridges because Zigbee devices themselves do not run on IPv6. Zigbee and Thread both use the same 2.4 GHz radio frequency, and some Zigbee devices allow uploading another firmware supporting Thread, such as the Aqara thermostat I reviewed in December. And Meta also works on Bluetooth, but it uses this just during the commissioning, not for the communication. So the bottom line is, when you buy Meta device, you should look both for the Meta logo and the logo of the underlying technology, such as Wi-Fi, Thread, or Zigbee. And for Zigbee devices, you might need a bridge, or you might be better off simply adding them to your Zigbee to MQTT. So, theory done. let's set up the Home Assistant. We need to configure two things, Thread and then Matter. Starting with Thread. It's a wireless technology, so we need a Thread antenna for Home Assistant to create the Thread network. Similar to Zigbee coordinator or Wi-Fi access point. But for Thread, it's called Thread border router. The SkyConnect ZBT2 can be configured as a Thread border router, but I already use mine as a Zigbee coordinator, and multi-protocol configuration isn't recommended and supported. The older SkyConnect ZBT1 also works for Thread, so that's another option. And the Home Assistant Yellow also supports Thread natively. But I have the SLZB 06P10 lying around, which can be also configured for Thread, so that's what I'm using. I uploaded the Thread firmware, switched it to Thread mode, made sure it's configured to use USB, noted the baud rate and connected it to Home Assistant via USB. And this is where I hit my first issue, so check the troubleshooting guide at the end if you run into problems. Next, go to add-ons and install the Open Thread Border Router add-on and configure it. Select the port with the SLZB antenna, configure the baud rate, and I uncheck the hardware flow control and automatic firmware flashing. Then start the add-on. And if I go to integrations and devices, the thread will be automatically discovered. So add it. Thread is done. Now Matter. It will soon be part of the Home Assistant core, but now it's also an add-on, so add it. You don't have to configure anything, just start it. And then go to integrations and devices again, and it will be also discovered. So add it and confirm to use the Matter add-on we just installed. And that's it. We are ready to add Matter devices. Let's try it. First, the new Thread-enabled motion sensor from IKEA. So we already done it, so let's go through it again. Open the Home Assistant companion app, click the three dots, add to Home Assistant, add device, add Matter device, say it's new, scan the QR code, and it's configuring it and adding to Home Assistant. Works beautifully. I also added the Meros presence sensor, also works great, though I had to use the Meros app to set the parameters like detection distance. And finally, the Aqara floor heating thermostat from my December video. This supports both Zigbee and Thread, with Thread as a default. You switch protocols from the Aqara app, and what it does is it actually uploads a different firmware for each protocol. So I switched it back to Thread and I added it via Matter like the other devices. The device shows up with a climate entity for heat and off mode, and with a target temperature control, and there is a temperature and humidity sensors. But that's it. Compared to the Zigbee to MQTT, there are no entities for selecting the external sensor or internal temperature sensor or the child lock. So I guess that's the limitation of a universal standard. I tried sharing this device to the Aqara app to set the parameters, like with the Meros sensor, but I couldn't get it working. So my final verdict for the Aqara thermostat: if you only use the internal sensor, Matter is fine. Otherwise, stick to Zigbee. Me, I don't have the floor sensor anymore. I connected that to 230 volts by accident. I burned it, so I'm betting on Matter. Now, in this demo, I set up the Thread and Matter and everything worked perfectly. Very likely this will be your experience too. But my actual experience, not as smooth. My network setup is complex and I had to troubleshoot several issues before it worked. Good news is, through that struggle, I figured out how it all works, which lets me give you a troubleshooting guide. Use it as a checklist if you get stuck. First, the SLZB antenna issues. This antenna can be powered over Ethernet and placed in the middle of your house, closer to the devices. That works great for Zigbee, but I don't recommend it for Thread right now. The Open Thread border router documentation has a bold warning that it wasn't designed to run this way. And if the TCP/IP connection fails, it leaves stale routes in your network. So stick to USB. If you do, make sure you switch the SLZB to USB mode, otherwise it won't work. Sounds obvious, but guess how I learned it. Second issue, even though the SLZB has USB-C port, it won't work with a USB-C to USB-C cable. You need USB-A to USB-C. Don't ask me why. If you don't see Matter in adding the devices, it means that you didn't add the Matter integration. Easy. Next, when adding devices from the Home Assistant mobile app, your phone needs to be on the same network as Home Assistant. Most people have a flat network, so that's not an issue, but I have 4 separate VLANs, one for IoT devices and Home Assistant, the other one for my mobile phones, computers. So I had to connect my phone to this network before adding devices. Took me a while to figure that out. And then go to Settings, Companion app, and select the server and make sure it's connected via internal URL, not through Nabukasa. If it is, click the internal URL and add the SSID to the list. Another personal lesson learned. And finally, Thread requires IPv6. Most of us use IPv4, and these are addresses like this. And that's what the internet runs on today. IPv6 is completely incompatible. It uses addresses that look like that, where FE80 and double colon means it's a local address that's similar to the 192.168 in the IPv4 world. IPv6 needs to be enabled on your router and on Home Assistant. It's often disabled by default. I had to configure it on my IoT VLAN and then to go to Home Assistant and enable IPv6 there as well. And one more thing, the newer Google Nest products, Apple HomePods or Apple TVs might also work as Thread border routers. If you have these, each of them will create a separate Thread network. And you want to avoid adding devices to different networks. They won't communicate with each other. If you like to use the existing network as your preferred network for Home Assistant, you can open the Thread integration on your mobile phone. Go to Settings. You will see the Home Assistant network called HA Thread with a PAN ID. Select it as preferred. If you have another border router, you will see that network too. To make it preferred, click Send Credentials to Home Assistant and allow access to your home network. Refresh the screen and you'll see a button to make the other network preferred. This is how it works on iPhone. On Android, the option is called Configure Import Credentials. But I left mine on HA Thread. And small bonus tip whilst we are on HomeKit, If you use HomePod or Apple TV, you can also create a HomeKit Bridge to show all Home Assistant devices in Apple Home. Go to Devices and Services, add Integration, Apple, HomeKit Bridge, select the entity filters, and it'll show as a QR code notification. Then on your iPhone, again, has to be on the same network as Home Assistant. Select Add Accessory, scan the QR code, and finish the setup. It has nothing to do with Matter, but I think it's handy whilst we were in Apple Home. And that's it for today. So I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.